All right, so the only other civilization we talked about, Mesopotamians. Mesopotamians are polytheistic. They believe their gods look like humans with human needs, except they had superpowers and live forever. And so what we're going to talk about today are the Egyptian gods, what the Egyptians believe. Next. Next again. Ancient Egyptian religion. Religion guided every aspect of the Egyptians' lives. Egyptian religion was based on polytheism. What's that mean, Adam? They believed in many gods. Very good. The Egyptians had as many as 2,000 gods or goddesses, but they really only worshipped a few that everybody worshipped, the main ones. Who's still right? Okay, we find it. Says ancient Egyptian religions. What I told you at this class, start a class. You're doing it good by keeping it in that notebook. That helps you. Who's still right? Everybody on the page they need to be at? Yes? No? Maybe? You need help? You need a pencil. Okay. Oh my goodness, guys, I don't got any pencils. I have come to class, no pencils. Here you go, buddy. Who else needs a pencil? Oh, okay. Did you write this in? Next. Many gods and goddesses were represented as part human and part animal. So here's our first difference between the Mesopotamians and the Egyptians. The Mesopotamians believed their gods looked like them, but had superpowers. The Egyptians believed they're kind of part animal, part human. For example, Horus, the sky god, had the head of a hawk and the body of a human. They considered animals such as the bull, the cat, and the crocodile to be holy. Why would they consider these animals to be holy? It's weird. These are the animals they were used to, right? They had cats in Egypt, they had crocodiles in the Nile, they had bulls and cows that they used for work and for meat. Everybody agree? Next. Do I need to go back up? Next. Go back up. We can do it at the end. I'll let you know. Guys, we're gonna push through, and then I'll tell you the blanks when we get done, or you can go back and watch it. Okay. Next. Their two chief gods were Amun-Ra and Osiris. Amun-Ra was believed to be the sun god and the lord of the universe. Osiris was the god of the dead and the necropolis, which is the city of the dead. Guys, when your main gods are the god of the universe and the god of the dead, do you think the afterlife's going to be important to you?
Yeah.
Probably. Probably. Next. The Egyptian Book of the Dead contains the major ideas and beliefs in the ancient Egyptian religion. Because their religion stressed an afterlife, the Egyptians devoted much of their time and wealth to preparing for survival in the afterworld, in the next world. No.
Mr. Kendall?
Yes.
Hey, do you have Aaron Ray?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
I need him to go, please.
He's on the way.
Thank you.
Aaron, walk in the back. Walk around. Yes. Peaches? You can. Just listen. Next. The major gods and goddesses: Anubis, Osiris, Ra, Horus, and Hathor. Next. Anubis, the god of mummification and death. What's his half body look like? A dog. Next. Osiris is the god of the underworld and king of the dead. Why is he always colored green? He's dead. Looks like rotting flesh, right? Ever seen rotten meat? Green, nasty. Never seen rotten meat? That's good. Next, Ra, the god of sun and supreme judge. Next, Horus, the sky god or the falcon god. Next, Hathor is the goddess of love, birth, death, music, and pleasure, shown as a woman with a horned headdress or as a cow. Next, Hathor. In the book of Exodus, when the Jews were made the golden calf, that's who it was. They were trying to worship the Egyptian god Hathor. Now, are any of these gods real? No, of course not. None of this is real. But they believed it. They believed every bit of this. Next. The Egyptians saw death as a transitional stage in the progress to a better life in the next world. Egyptians were resurrectionists. They believed each person's soul would return to the body and they would live again in the afterlife. Therefore, it was essential to keep the body intact. Now, most of us, or many of us, we are resurrectionists. We believe that we will get a new body in the afterlife. But the Egyptians believed that you'd have to go to the same body. So you had to take care of it. When you died, you had to really prepare it to preserve it. It's super weird. Next. Mummification. Funerals were very expensive. A person would need to A, have a tomb carved out of solid rock. B, gather all the essential objects in place. What all would you need? What all would you need in the afterlife? Huh? You need your body, but they gather all the stuff they need in there. No, stuff. What kind of stuff would you need?
Like
Clothes, food, water, yep. Anybody got any other ideas? Huh? Tools. Weapons. Toilet. You're gonna need that. Yep. Board games. They did. They found some board games. You would appoint their son. You would have to appoint your son or a priest to bring you an offering every day for up to a year. Next. Mummification was a long and expensive process. The expense of mummification limited the full procedure to the very rich. For the poor, a shallow grave near the desert was common. The hot, dry climate caused natural mummification to occur. But all wanted to ensure their journey into the afterlife. If you were poor in this life, were you going to be poor in the afterlife? Probably, yeah. If you were rich or important, were you going to be rich and important in the afterlife? Probably. Next again. The tombs were created to provide the dead with a place to store the necessary supplies needed in the journey to the afterlife. Inside the tombs, you found clothing, jewelry, food, weapons, all stored as supplies for the afterlife. They would also decorate the walls with servants. and paint them harvesting grain, baking bread, picking grapes. And they believed that when you return to your body, those servants would come alive and forever have bread for you, grapes for you, dinner for you, stuff like that. Next. In addition to the material in the tomb, the walls of the tomb were painted with scenes from everyday life. And I just said because they believed that those scenes would come true and you would always have the things you needed. Now, is any of that true? No, but they certainly believed it. They believed every bit of this for a long time. Next. Before the body is laid to rest, a burial mask will be placed over the mummified body. The most famous burial mask was in the picture of our book. Whose mask is this? King Tut. Now you ask yourself, why would you need a burial mask? Well, when you're mummifying the body, basically the face kind of gets destroyed. Okay, you got to cut the eyes out because they're gooey and they're going to rot. Right? You don't want your body to rot. Okay? You also have to scramble the brains out. Okay? So you stick a thing up the nose, which kind of breaks the nose up, and you stir up the brains real good, and you pull all the brains out. Okay? And then you rinse out the brain pan, and you put a bunch of gauze and stuff up in there because you don't want it to rot. You agree? Okay? So your whole face is going to get destroyed doing that. But when you get this burial mask, this becomes your new head and face. So you have this beautiful, perfect face. Now, King Tut didn't look anything like this. He was kind of an inbred mutant. But he was going to look good in the afterlife because that becomes his new face. Next again. Egyptians believed that their pharaoh ruled even after his death. He had an eternal spirit, or Ka, that continued to take part in governing of Egypt. Next. Egyptians also believed that the Ka remained much like a living pharaoh in its needs and pleasures. Next. So the pharaoh's tomb needed the following. Next. You're going to need external comfort. So artists decorated the walls of the burial chamber with pictures of whatever things he might need or like, such as endless meals, loved ones, devoted servants, etc. Next. Going to need luxuries. You have to have fine jewels. You got to wear jewels. Game boards, precious stones, rich clothing. Next. And you're going to have writings that tells what all the pharaoh did in his life to brag about it. This is more of his important deeds. Who's still right? Next again. The Old Kingdom was the great age of pyramid building. So make sure everybody understands this. So pause what you're doing and listen up. All the pyramids were made in what's called the Old Kingdom. The Old Kingdom is a long, long time ago. 4,000 years ago. That's when the pyramids were made. They didn't make pyramids forever. Why? Why did they not make pyramids the whole time? They made pyramids. There's about 80 of them that survived. Why didn't they continue to make pyramids for the 3,000 years there of civilization? Huh? Why wouldn't you make a pyramid for every single ruler? Some might not be as important because they thought they were all part of the god Ra. They're pretty important. One thing, how long did they take? It took a long time to make. Do you think people could see where these pyramids were? Yeah, they're pretty visible. We know where they are now. Guys, every single pyramid tomb was robbed. So the king didn't have all the stuff he needed in the afterlife, did he? Now, of course, was any of that real? No. But every single one were robbed. So what they eventually started doing is they started making them into the cliffs and then covering them up and stuff. That's why King Tut is so important. King Tut was a nothing pharaoh. He died when he was 19. He was only pharaoh for 10 years. He wasn't important. But his tomb was undisturbed. Everything they put in it was still in it. The only one. So we have all kinds of stuff that they found in King Tut's tomb because it was undisturbed. Next. The pharaohs expected to reign forever. The tombs or the pyramids were more important to them than their palaces. You got to have your eternal house be good. But they're just not, you just couldn't build a pyramid forever. Next. Next again. The Great Pyramids at Giza. The blocks of the pyramids weighed about 2.5 tons. Some weighed up to 15 tons. That's 30,000 pounds. They moved those by dragging them. People would get ropes, and you'd have about 100 men dragging those things. Think that was hard? Consider you had to go uphill? Next. Peasants worked on the pyramids in order to be fed during the flood season. About 80 pyramids still stand in Egypt today. Now we're going to talk later. We'll talk later about the Middle and the New Kingdoms, and that's when you're going to get Valley of the Kings. They built them into the cliffs. Next. Next again. Here's the diagram of what's inside the Great Pyramid. Next. Oh, all these tombs, even little tombs, have a little toy boat in them. Sometimes they have full-size boats that they just broke apart. They could put back together, like Legos. But the toy boats had little guys on them because when you died and you were transported to the afterlife, the boat became full-size. Was any of that real? No. And it took you on your journey to have your soul judged. Next. Next again. There's King Tut's mask. That was on his body. That's a sarcophagus. His body was inside that thing. That is pure gold. Next. The journey into the afterlife. The journey into the afterlife was a difficult one. To help, scripts would be left with magic spells to help the deceased navigate the afterlife. Now, are magic spells real? No. Next. These scripts became known as the Book of the Dead. The spirit would begin its journey by crossing a wide river and then pass through a gate guarded by monsters. Now, when you mummified a body, somebody said earlier that you would need your organs. When they mummified a body, they took out all your organs. They took out the stomach, they took out your lungs, they took out your kidneys, they took out everything. And they put them in these jars, because you're going to need them later. But they left the heart in there. Okay? And there's a reason why. Because when you go to the afterlife, next again, the deceased would have to go to the Hall of Two Truths to be judged. The person would be brought before a tribunal of gods and accused of 42 different crimes. Hey, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Explain this. Okay, and so judging by what your answers were, they were going to judge your heart, whether you were good or bad. Think anything good's going to happen if you were bad? No. Next again. After successfully answering these charges, the heart would be put, they'd take the heart out of the body and put it on a scale. And they'd put a feather on the other side. And your heart, if you were true and without sin, would be lighter than a feather. Anybody said, hey, you're skinny, you're light as a feather. Well, that's where that phrase comes from. The Egyptians in the afterlife would put your heart on a feather after answering these questions. And if your heart was lighter than the feather, then you got to go on to the afterlife. But if it wasn't lighter than a feather, then a monster with the head of a crocodile and the body of half a lion and half a hippopotamus would eat the heart, and you would just go through eternity as some kind of zombie with no memories, no personality. Now, is any of that real? No, but they thought it was real. They thought all that stuff was real. Next. There's kind of a description of that in the Marvel TV show called Moon Knight. It kind of shows this monster thing and the heart being judged. It's kind of, that whole show is just weird. It's a cool character from when I read comics as a kid, though. Next. Egyptians believed afterlife to be an eternal time of leisure and pleasure. Life there would be much better than anything on earth except for possibly being the Pharaoh. Next. So did you get it? Were the ancient Egyptians polytheistic or monotheistic? Polytheistic. Did the Egyptians believe in an afterlife? Yes. Why did the Egyptians mummify their dead?
To preserve the body for them during the afterlife.
Because they were going to need the body in the afterlife. Good. Explain what the Egyptian gods look like.
Normal humans don't have powers.
Half animal, half human. That's the Mesopotamian god. Why would they build the pyramids?
Something that wasn't important. Tombs for the pharaoh.
Yeah, so they could. So not just tombs for the pharaoh. What did they become? They become their houses, didn't they? And their storehouses for all their stuff. All right, as we say in my class, go forth and learn because knowledge is